Hi YouTube, this is Cypher back with another video in which I'm reviewing lesson 10 in my series of professional lessons with Michael. I'm a little bit behind and I'm going to explain why and give you a bit of a catch up in just a moment. Yeah, that's disgusting. Okay, so as I said, this is lesson 10. We did this lesson on the 11th of December. So I'm day 148 and roughly 33 hours of practice time. And I've got a little bit behind because life has got in the way. As you probably gathered from the little cameo a moment ago, I'm just getting over quite a nasty cold. It's quite unusual for me to not work and to rest, but I was off work for 2 days and I spent much of this weekend recovering. So this is Sunday morning and I just wanted to get this video done before I get too far behind, and I apologise therefore for the tone of my voice. It's still got that remnant of cold there, but I didn't want to get too far behind with the channel. There hasn't been a lot of activity going on, and yeah, just need to get caught up. So, as I said, this was the 11th of December. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm now into the beginning of January. That's how far behind we are. And in this lesson, it was mostly to review my progress. So we started off just by reviewing the scale that you heard me play just a moment ago. And then we reviewed the chords that I've been playing. So we were reviewing the C chord. So not too bad. Then we looked at the A chord and the two different ways of playing that, the different fingerings. I'm going to leave the G chord out for a moment, we'll come back to that one. We then looked at the E chord, the E7, the D chord, the E minor, the A minor, the D7, oops, let's try and play that one a bit better, and then the A7, which I haven't quite got in my head yet, and then as I said, that dreaded G chord, which I really struggle with just to get my fingers down. As you can hear, plenty of dead strings in there. So I've been working on those chords for far too long. Pretty much everything between the last lesson and this lesson, as far as practice has been concerned, has been going through those chords. Trying to get perfect chords, clean chords, and then trying to move between them. Struggling a little bit, but now, as well as just reviewing what I'd done with Michael, so going through the chords, which took about 5 minutes, probably about 10 or 15 minutes of the lesson was given over to a discussion, but it was a really useful discussion because Michael has got me doing a 4-fingered G chord. Now obviously you can download the diagram and see that, but you're looking at your first finger in the 2nd fret on the 5th string, your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the G string or the 6th string, and then you've got your ring finger goes on the 2nd string in that same 3rd fret, and then your little finger tucks right under on the 1st string, and then you strum them all. And trying to get all those 4 fingers down was a bit of a struggle, so I did do my usual between lessons and have a look on YouTube just to see what other people were doing. And I found it interesting that a lot of the tutors are teaching a 3-finger G chord, where you leave out the pinky, which was a lot easier. I thought, wow, this is good. Let me take that up with Michael. So the first part of the lesson was just talking about the chords. And what was really interesting is the G chord is interchangeable between the 3-finger and the 4-finger pattern. In fact, I have seen some videos, some tracks, where you're just playing the G chord with the 2 strings, which I really liked. And the sound between them is quite subtle. And what was explained to me was that these patterns are fully interchangeable, and it's up to the composer or who you're playing with to define which of the patterns you play. If there isn't a pattern defined, you can play whichever one you prefer. And the reason that Michael was teaching me the 4-fingered pattern is clearly once you've learnt that pattern, it's much easier then simply to lift off your little finger or the bottom 2 fingers to play the pattern that the composer wants you to play, which made perfect sense to me. And this led into another discussion during this lesson about major chords in general. And he explained that major chords are basically triads. They're made up of 3 notes normally. The root, the 3rd and the 5th note. Now I know that confuses things slightly when he's teaching me a 4-fingered chord, but most of the chords that we went through were all 3-fingered. This was the odd one out, which is why it confused me. And basically playing these triads, they become happy chords, or what we refer to as happy chords, because they're quite upbeat. And so for a C major chord, it's made up of playing a C, an E and a G. C being the root note, E being the 3rd and G being the 5th. And then in one of my previous lessons, maybe the last one, I mentioned that I remembered how many strings to play for the E chord because I played everything, all of the notes. Well, that was complete rubbish, because of course that helps you with the E, but what about the A and the D? Which strings do you play for those? Well, once you understand that chords begin with the root note, then it becomes very straightforward. So if you're playing a C chord, then you start off on the 2nd string, the 5th string, because you're actually playing the C. If you're playing the A chord, you start off on the A string, and basically you start off on that string that plays that 1st note. And then that made life so much easier. So we're going to carry on with the chords and practicing the chords, and we're going to be moving on to strumming patterns. So for the moment I'm just playing either 1 bar, 2, 3, 4, or individual notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to get the hand movement going. So that's what we're working on at the moment leading up to the next lesson, and Michael's trying to get me geared up for some blues patterns and things like that, which will be really interesting. And then he threw me a curveball, because we had about 5 or 10 minutes left of the lesson, and he said, okay, play me Sunshine of Your Love. So, you know, I started just to play that. And I'll be honest with you, I did trip up on it the first time I ran through, but because I hadn't played it in 2 weeks, hadn't touched it. But what was really interesting is after I'd been through it one time, my muscle memory, I'd remembered it, and it was brilliant. But what was even better than that is we played through it, and Michael was playing chords underneath it. And for the first time in all of these lessons, so I'm on lesson 10, we were actually jamming together. And that, in my mind, was another step forward in my progression. So even though I've been struggling with chords these last couple of weeks, little did I know that what he's doing with me is putting all these little bricks in place and building into something that we are going to be able to take forward. And in this lesson, I had the first sight of that. So that's pretty much the review for this lesson. I'm going to be reviewing doing three videos today because I want to catch up. And in the next lesson, we're going to be looking at this bad boy, one of my Christmas presents. So stay tuned, and I will see you on the next video, which I hope to get produced over the next couple of days, and then these will be uploaded fairly quite quickly and to enable me to catch up. So for the moment, I'm back to practicing my chords and my chord changes, and just to try and perfect those as much as I can. So I'll see you again on the next lesson, coming very soon. Take care, bye bye.